let's see, on the app, and we should be live in the Google Hangout. Hi, everybody. It's Rose is here. How exciting. All right. We had some technical difficulties with Alpha Geek Radio, so we are not on Alpha Geek Radio right now because we were supposed to be on Channel 3 and be just fine, but that Brian Brushwood just stomped on us again on Channel 3. So anyway, we are not on Alpha Geek Radio. I'm going to go ahead and quit but so that's not running. All right. Kevin says he can hear me, so it looks like we're getting started here. Let's take roll call. We've got Donald, Steve, Brett, Kevin, Kiwi Spoon, which is, I want to say Gary, but that's not right, is it? Kiwi Spoon, help me out. I always forget your name. And we've got Dorothy, Rose, Steve Davidson. Hey, Steve, how you doing? And Alistair Jenks from New Zealand. Hello. His video, Job Hunt. Oh, yum. That's good. All right. Let me go. Steven, how can I do that? Okay. So I've got Steven, and Steve Davidson. All right. Just everybody's going to go by Steven, so I don't have to remember anything. Everybody say happy birthday to Kevin's daughter, Sarah. It's her 15th birthday today. Happy birthday. Tell her we said hey. All right. Let me do a little test recording here. See if by chance the mic is correct. Wait. Not Gary, Steven. Yes. Sorry. Steven. We'll see if I get that, Kiwi Spoon. I'll get there eventually. Wait. Oh, that's something else. Okay, here we go. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast. Let's see how that sounds. Tell me how playback is. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast. Looks like it came through. Confusing. Old job want me back. Ooh, interesting. It's good to be wanted. All right, let's save this as a file name. Stephen Kevin. Oh, wait a minute. Stephen Kevin. Is your name Stephen Kevin? That's even more confusing because now I don't know if your name's Kevin or Stephen. 2015 04 11. There we go. Let's see. Oh, and Stephen King joined us. Wait, what? Oh, okay. Now I'm really confused. Stephen King is Stephen Kevin? Okay. Oh, now I finally got it. Kevin is Stephen. I get it. Jeez, I'm slow. Make my own joke. She does, Alistair. All right. Let's see. Everybody goes by Kevin. I love it. Okay. I make my own joke and I don't even get it. Okay. Let's go ahead and start. Let's start the show here. Here we go. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Macintosh bias. Today is Saturday, April 11th, 2015, and this is show number 518. Well, I have a ton of great info for you today, but one thing I'm not going to talk about is the new Photos app for OS X. It's not that I'm not excited and not that I'm not playing with it. It's just I have so much else to talk about. We just don't have time. Stay tuned and hopefully we'll dig in next week. By the way, the reason we're recording early is because Steve and I are off to the National Association of Broadcasters, otherwise known as NAB, and New Media Expo, otherwise known as NMX, in Las Vegas. We've never been to NAB before, and we're really looking forward to it. NMX continues to evolve. That's me trying to say something positive. And I hope that combining with NAB and being inside the convention floor for NAB will make it be more interesting than it has been in the last few years. But a little bit of a sleeper for me, I got to admit. One bright side was we got to meet Jamal last year, and I think he's going to be there again this year, so we should get to catch up. So that'll be fun. In any case, we're excited to see Dave Hamilton, Don McAllister, even though we saw him 2 weeks ago in India, Joseph Nilo, who we haven't seen for years. He's one of the original 4 Mac Roundtable guys. And of course, my dear, dear friend, Chuck Joyner. All right, we better dig into the show. Mac Parrott. All right, howdy. All right. You got to go by Stephen while you're here, though. That's the new rules. Yeah, okay, that's what I want to do. Good. All right. When Steve and I got off the plane from our great India vacation, it was just a wee bit of a culture shock to get back on the internet. Normally, we enjoy the flood of information that comes from Twitter, Google Plus, podcasts, and even Facebook. Well, somewhat Facebook, but almost an entire month out of the loop left us feeling a bit unsettled. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put another plug in here. All right, we better. One more plug in here. We got something really interesting on Chit Chat. Chit Chat Across the Pond is going to be kind of different this week. I talked to a company called Ceratech who writes assistive software for using social media tools like Facebook. There's a big change coming in Facebook that is not going to be good for the customers that they serve. And it's a really, really interesting interview. I had a good time talking to these guys, but I normally don't talk to vendors. So it's a bit unusual, but I think you'll really get a lot out of it. Anyway, let's go ahead and dig into the show. When Steve and I got off the plane from our great India vacation, it's just a wee bit of a culture shock to get back on the internet. Normally we enjoy the flood of information that comes from Twitter, Google Plus, podcasts, and even Facebook, but almost an entire month out of the loop, it left us a bit unsettled. We started reading a bit here and there, and then we saw an app called Meerkat that was taking the internet by storm, but then realized we'd actually missed Meerkat and had already been overtaken by Periscope. I bring this up because Periscope is pretty interesting, and I'll be talking about it a bit more in the show, so I figured I'd better explain it. Periscope is an iOS-only app that allows you to live video broadcast and send notifications to your followers on Twitter and allow the broadcast to be viewed for the next 24 hours and to save the video to your phone. There's a lot of discussion of whether this is a big deal, a flash in the pan, or something we had a long time ago and somehow never took off. But we'll talk more about that later. For some reason, this tool has taken off like wildfire. I did a Periscope of walking Tesla, our dog, and a ton of people showed up. Seriously, a lot of them were people I knew, like Victor Cahiao, Marianne Gary, remember the memory psychologist? And Neil, the guy who saved the podcast almost 10 years ago. Obviously, all these people weren't actually interested in watching me walk Tesla, but rather interested to see what kinds of things people will be ending it. Okay, I've stumbled too much. It's too many stumbles in a row. Where I said obviously. For some reason, stop there. For some reason, this tool has taken off like wildfire. I did a Periscope of walking Tesla, our dog, and a ton of people showed up to watch it. I thought that was kind of weird. Many of them were people I knew, like Victor Cahiao, Marianne Gary, remember the memory psychologist we had on the show? And Neil, the guy who saved the podcast almost 10 years ago. Obviously, all of the people who showed up were not actually interested in watching me walk my dog, but rather were interested to see what kind of things people will be broadcasting. So let me back up and explain how Periscope works. You download Periscope to your iOS device and sign in with your Twitter credentials. I mentioned Meerkat's infant mortality at the beginning. Evidently, it's the tight Twitter integration of Periscope that killed off Meerkat because, as it turns out, Twitter owns Periscope. By signing in through Twitter, that means that when you hit the button to broadcast live, a tweet goes out to your Twitter followers telling them about the event. So it's sort of like you've got a built-in audience already. If they hit the link inside Twitter and they don't have Periscope, they get redirected to the App Store to download the Periscope app. Now, remember I said it was iOS only. So that means if you tweet that you're doing Periscope and somebody doesn't have an iOS device, I don't think they can actually watch your Periscope. I was talking to Oliver Breidenbach from Boink Software about Periscope at breakfast the other day, and he felt that they're making a big mistake making you download an app to watch a video stream. I do see his point. You're adding friction to the viewing audience. In fact, you're excluding a bunch of the viewing audience, and that's not usually a good thing. It's okay to inconvenience the content creators because they have some motivation, but if you click a link to see what it is and you have to download an app, or you can't even download an app, it would seem like you'd be pretty likely to just click away. I'm sure that's happening, but a lot of people seem to go ahead and download this app. As a broadcaster, you click the icon to start broadcasting. Then you can name the event and hit the live button. Pretty hard to make it too much easier than that, except that the broadcast button is kind of nondescript, but I figured it out. Once you start broadcasting, you get an icon on screen to switch to the front-facing camera. That's cool, but what isn't obvious is there's about a 1-second pause when you switch cameras, so you got to keep that in mind. I kept blathering on while it was flipping, but after my first couple of periscopes, Steve tipped me off about the delay. To the viewer, it just looks like the video was actually edited. So I kept thinking there was a pause button, but there isn't. So make sure you don't say anything terribly important while it's in the process of flipping the camera. When people join, you see their Twitter handles come up on screen in the bottom left. They fade away after a few seconds, but if enough people join at once, they actually can cover up most of the left side of the screen for a while. As a viewer, you have the option of tapping the heart button to show that you're enjoying what you're seeing. It's lovely and rather sweet, actually. You can hit it as often as you like, which causes this delightful stream of upward floating hearts covering the right side of the screen. That means if enough people are joining and liking what you're doing, you have about half of the screen on the left. You have about half of the screen left at the top to show them anything because you got all the names on the left and all the hearts on the right. It's still very sweet. My biggest problem, though, is that in any kind of sunlight at all, I am unable to read the text that shows people's Twitter names. I can read what they're writing, but the Twitter names are like light colors. It's really hard to see. I wear bifocal sunglasses, so you'd think I could read it, but it's really dim. It's sad when you really want to respond and you can't read people's names. Victor Cahiao, for example, was saying hi repeatedly on that very first walk. I missed him over and over again, and I felt badly afterwards. We did finally connect up. When you first start up Periscope, it asks you if you want to follow everyone you follow on Twitter. Steve and I definitely did want to do this, but for some reason it didn't really take. For example, Steve clearly follows me on Twitter. It'd be kind of a bad mistake of his if he didn't, but he did not get notifications on Periscope when I broadcast. After a couple of days of fiddling with it, we finally got it working, but I can't actually tell you what we did to make it work. I know search is kind of hard, and I don't know, we toggled some stuff, and all of a sudden he could find me. When you're done broadcasting, you can save the video to your device, but I think the only time you can make that decision is right then and there. I haven't found a way to save it later. When you save the video to your device, none of the comments and hearts will be visible. I think that's the right choice by the Periscope developers, but it would be kind of cool to be able to go back and see what they did show. Finding old Periscopes is a bit tough. The only way I've been able to find my old ones is to go into Twitter, find myself, scroll back through the tweets I've done to find the one auto-generated one by Periscope, click the link, agree that it's allowed to open the Periscope app. It's a lot of work, a bit of a faff, as the Brits would say. I think it's a lot better search functionality is needed on Periscope, that's for sure. There's one thing that drives Steve nuts, and that's that Periscope is designed for portrait format videos only. You can take the video in landscape mode, but the comments will all be sideways, so it looks really dumb. Steve hates portrait videos more than he hates rain on his freshly washed car, so this might be a downside to you as well. If you watch the video we talk about later, you'll see he even put an apology on screen when he posted the video for me. Oliver, David Sparks, Adam Christensen, and I had a discussion about whether Periscope is a flash in the pan or whether it's the start of something that will really stick. I'm more on the flash in the pan side of the argument. It's fun, and maybe someone will Periscope a huge event that turns Periscope into something big and noticeable, but outside of the tech community, and even inside of it, I haven't been able to find anyone who's even heard of Periscope. Oddly, though, the pickup of viewers is astonishing. I'll be talking about the Periscope Steve and I did of our Apple Watch try-in session a little later in the show, and I was surprised to have 115 live viewers, only one childish spammer, 22 replay viewers, and just under 700 hearts for this event. I'm curious what you think about Periscope. Is it a flash in the pan or the start of something big? Better start following Podfeed on Twitter. 9.9. What is that? Was that some sort of smile thing? Brett's here. Hi, Brett. All right. What did I miss? I like rain on my car. No, not so much for us. Useful for the Arab Spring type stuff. Maybe. Yeah, spontaneous video. It's not really a blog though, Steve Davidson. It's just video. I don't know. But it seemed to be fun on this kind of event. It seemed like a thing. And there were a couple people who really thanked us for it. One of the things Steve noticed, well, maybe I should talk about in this, but one of the things Steve noticed was people were asking us to ask certain questions. And it was hard to be doing the video and reading the questions at the same time. All right. Since I'm old, I took not one, but two naps to get ready to stay up till midnight to order my Apple Watch. Steve and I both wanted one, and even though he thought I would stay up late and order it for him, he was wrong about that. He's never stood in an excessively long line, stayed up till midnight, or even stayed home all day, sadly peering out the front window waiting for the UPS delivery truck. I thought it was time he experienced the joy for himself. Well, Brett Kennedy tweeted to me asking if we blah, 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 blah. Cut. Try that again. Actually, I'm going to take that whole cut over again. Since I'm old, I took not one but two naps to prepare to stay up till midnight to order my Apple Watch. Steve and I both wanted one, and even though he thought I would stay up late and order his for him, he was wrong about that. He's never stood in an excessively long line, stayed up till midnight, or stayed home all day, sadly peering out the front window waiting for the UPS delivery truck. I thought it was time he experienced the joy for himself. That evening, Brett Kennedy tweeted to me asking, hey, maybe we should all hang out in the NosillaCast live chat room to share the experience. That sounded like a grand idea to us. If you haven't ever joined the live show before, it's actually really easy to join the chat. You can do it with a dedicated chat client, which is a very nice experience. But if you just want to dip your toe in the water, you can simply go to podfeet.com/live, and there's a chat client embedded right in the web page. This makes it easier for most folks to just give it a try. We've done the chat room thing for a few events lately, and it's really a fun way to enjoy the experience. We did it during the latest Apple event all the way from India. So I tweeted out that the chat room was open. Well, it's always open. But anyway, Brett, Tim Gregoire, who he was only there because he didn't want to study, Barry Falk, Pat Dengler, and David Roth, and joined Steve and me. So that was pretty fun. Anyway, based on previous experiences, we decided to try to use the Apple Store app on iOS to make our purchases. During the dreadful experience of buying the iPhone 6S for me and the kids, the trick was to use that app to get through because their web servers just did not function at all during the iPhone 6 purchase time. We were able to get in quickly to buy our watches, and I placed my order for a 38mm silver aluminum sport watch with a white band in probably the first 2 minutes the store was open. When Steve pushed by on the 42mm space gray aluminum sport watch with a black band, it asked him for the 3-digit code for his credit card. Clearly, Steve does not buy as much stuff from Apple as he probably should, or that number would have been in there more recently. Anyway, it took us a couple of minutes to dig out the card and find the code. That couple of minutes was enough to cause his ship date to slip out from April 24th to May 13th. Now, it was sad for him, but luckily he didn't seem too devastated, just a little bit sad. We did find out why this happened. iMore and a couple other sites did informal polls asking people which watch they ordered. As of the time that I wrote these notes up, nearly 43% of the 4,973 respondents who bought an Apple Watch ordered the space gray aluminum that Steve wanted. So I guess it's a popular model. I suspect that Apple will see this huge tilt towards one model and step up production, so maybe those watches will ship faster than we thought. I sure hope so for Steve's sake. If you're wondering, rose gold was 1.63% and yellow gold was 0.72%. So it's actually 2.3% of the people who answered the poll actually ordered a gold watch. It was anticlimactic, though, that by about 12:10, we were done ordering our watches. So Steve suggested that we have some fun and try to schedule an appointment for the very first day to try on the Apple Watch. I thought this was nutty to even try, but like I said, we were disappointed that the buying experience was so seamless, so why not? We tried to use the Apple Store app on iOS to schedule the appointment, but it took us over to the Apple website. So we flipped over to our laptops to do this. And that's where we were rewarded with Apple servers falling over in a heap, as Bart would say. I was able to get to the point where I could select our Apple Store, the day, and then the time. But when I tapped on Make Reservation, I got an error web page. I did this over and over and over again. And I tweeted out my frustration, at which point Kevin K., also known as CNJ Brown Bear, suggested I check my email. Sure enough, I had 3 appointments. Turned out the only failure they had was in delivering the message of success. This also explained why each time I went to make a reservation, the count of available appointments decremented by 1. I canceled one of the appointments, but I decided to keep 2 for 1:30 p.m. I did that so that both Steve and I could try on the watches. I've had the experience before where I have a Genius Bar appointment and I try to ask a question about a different device than the one for which I made the Genius Bar appointment. And they tell me, no, you got to make a second appointment to talk about a second device. So I wanted to hedge my bets on the Apple Watch try-on experience. However, just before we left the house, Steve suggested I check to see if both appointments were still live, but alas, they had canceled one of them. That turned out to not matter a single bit. We went to the Apple store a bit before our appointment time. We were immediately taken care of by Zach, who said, of course, we could both try the watches on, but he'd only be allowed to show us two at a time. I was amazed and a bit disappointed, actually, to see that the store was not a zoo. I might even say traffic in the store was a little bit on the light side for our Apple store. It's normally just packed and you can't even walk in and out, and it was pretty comfortable. The store had a gorgeous glass cabinet with all of the watches displayed, including the gold edition watch. Zach led us away from there to a table where he waved his point-of-sale terminal device at the edge of the table, and a drawer slid silently open, revealing an array of watches. I know this is silly, but I think it might have been one of the coolest things about trying on the watch. I just realized I'm just talking. I'm not getting to play. What have I missed? Oh, you guys are chattering away here. Yeah, the comments were crude. It was actually kind of funny because it was just this kid going, that looks like shit. You got shit on your wrist. You know, just over and over again. It was, you could tell it was like a 12-year-old. So Lex Friedman has been doing Q&A for the Apple Watch on Periscope. Well, that's a good idea. Checking out if you're part of a trade show, people checking out a trade show. Actually, we could do some periscoping from NAB. I better bring my gold Mophie juice pack to NAB. Thanks for the reminder, guys. You just helped me start my packing list. Oh, cool, Brett. Pat Dingler asked whether you can use the Milanese band on the aluminum watch, and they told her no. They said the aluminum watch was too soft. I hope not, because I bought one, so I hope they're wrong. If you get a chance, if you remember, Brett, ask them that and see if you get the same answer. Shit puts bread and butter on my table. Nice, Kevin. I actually, Stephen, I actually just do stutter. That's what that is. All right. All right, I'm caught up with the chat room. Time to go back in. I'm going to talk about this picture in a second. Let's see. Okay, look at this picture. It's a terrible photo. It's a this is a screenshot from the Periscope video. So it's not the best shot of all, but it shows you what I'm going to talk about, this connector thingy. Zach took out the silver aluminum sport watch in 38 millimeter for me, the one I'd ordered, and the space gray aluminum sport 42 millimeter for Steve. The good news is that the 38 millimeter fits my wrist exactly like the 42 millimeter fits his wrist, and they both fit perfectly. The size of the watch is just perfect, and it was nice to know that we'd made the right size decisions. The black fluoroelastomer band felt fantastic to Steve, very soft and flexible, and it fit him just like a glove. It was perfect. I have to say, though, that while the white fluoroelastomer on my watch was a beautiful texture that I really liked, just really nice to the touch, its stiffness around the connection of the watch made it kind of bulge out away from my wrist. So it left a gap between my band and the band and my wrist. I tightened it up and that fixed it, but I don't like to wear my watch all that tight. So I'm hoping that the band maybe softens with the warmth of the wrist and maybe becomes a little more pliable as you wear it. We also wanted to look at the Milanese loop watch band. This will run you an extra $150. So since it's my birthday, I threw one of those in my shopping cart when I bought my watch. Happy birthday to me. It's not my birthday yet, but by the time I get my watch, it will be. Anyway, I felt that the Milanese fit me much better than the fluoroelastomer band. It's so slinky that just sort of melds to your wrist, and the magnet makes it fit to exactly the size of your wrist. I was surprised, though, that it wasn't as shiny as I'd expected. It's a bit more industrial looking than I'd hoped because it's a little bit darker. Like I said, I thought it'd be shinier, but it felt great and it looked nice. I'm guessing I'll wear the white band for exercise and the Milanese to dress up for dress up day. And one more thing, Zach was quick to point out that the Milanese loop will not pull your arm hairs out. So that's a real nice feature. The Milanese was on the stainless steel watch. Remember, we ordered aluminum, and the stainless steel watch was noticeably heavier. I was glad that I preferred the lighter aluminum, especially since it's much less expensive. I love it when what I like is actually cheaper. Now, I wanted to see how hard it was to swap bands, so Zach went back to the aluminum with white fluoroelastomer band. He said the Milanese is a bit harder to remove, and I suspect that's because it doesn't come all the way apart into two halves, or at least not easily. And that's kind of nice because you put the watch on by sticking your hand through the loop. You don't completely disconnect the two sides. Anyway, back on the fluoroelastomer band, Zach pressed a button on the back of the watch and then slid the band out of the slot. Now, I know everyone's been getting excited saying, oh, I'm just going to wait for third-party bands, but there may be a bit of snag here. We noticed that the band and the watch had pins for the connection. Zach said it was both a magnetic connection and a mechanical connection. So you push that button and it pulls some mechanical thing out of the way. I couldn't see inside the watch very easily to see that. Now, I'm not saying there won't be third-party watch bands, but I suspect they will not be in the $10 category if they require the precision of what we saw. Again, people will certainly be able to make third-party watch bands, but it's just not going to be as easy as we'd kind of hoped. I realized after we left that I didn't spend hardly any time really looking at the watch. The ones we were allowed to try on were running a demo, so we didn't pay any attention to them until Steve felt the haptic feedback go off on his. He said that he felt like the sensation actually went through his wrist rather than just touching the surface. I can't vouch for this because it didn't happen to go off while I was wearing one. He did say it wasn't unpleasant, just unusual. He also wanted me to point out that he heard that you can dial that up and down, how strong that sensation is, but it is kind of interesting. We did a periscope of the whole Apple Watch try-on experience, so if you want to watch the drawer open and see the pins inside the watch and the band, you might want to take a look at the video we posted over on podfeet.com a couple days ago. It's also in our Google Plus community over at podfeet.com/Google+. After we got done trying on the watches, Zach told us we could play with one that was on the same table in a stand. You couldn't do too much with it, but we were able to zoom in and out of the main screen of, bubbles using the crown. We were able to select by pushing in or tapping with our fingers and pretty much stumble around guessing what the other button was for. I would not call this a good test of the product by any means, but it's fun to be able to say that we got to play with it. One other thing about the table, it was much like when you try on fancy pants jewelry. I have had the opportunity to go into Tiffany before, where they put out a little black leather thing, and then they set the jewelry on it so it looks really good on the black leather, and then they have a little cloth. They always clean it off so there's no fingerprints. Zach went through all of that with these watches, even with a sport one. Anyway, after we got done trying on the watches, Zach told us we could. I just read that section. Right. That's fine. Does Podfeet doubt me? No. Wait. What have I missed? There it is. Odd site says 424.15. What is that? Oh, Oz is in the first tier of countries. Second tier countries aren't even known yet. Well, you could pop over to Australia, Alistair. I love New Zealand. I want to go back. Wonder when they'll get to see him. Oh, Edie's back and gone again. Wow, that was quick. Keep reading. Marsh. Oh, yeah. Oh, Marsh Wiggler. No, Edie is back. Hi. I never know if it's Edie or Eddie. I do this every time. I'm going to call you Marsh Wiggler because I'm never going to remember. All right. I'm still catching up, still reading. I think video coming April 25th. What is going on? Anzac Day? Huh. All right. Let's see. Anyway, wait. I did that. That is what I wanted to do. Anyway. Not anyway. Let's just say something different. After all that, Brian, who has been helping me out a bunch of times in the store, suggested we go play with the new 12-inch MacBook. I've been trying to get Steve interested in replacing his 2011 MacBook Air with one, but he says it's not the machine for him. While it's only 2 pounds instead of the fatty 3 pounds of the 13-inch MacBook Air, the processor in it is pretty low powered, and that would be a problem for him when he's on the road. While his 27-inch iMac at home is the video workhorse, he does download and edit a smidge of video when we're on vacation, and his existing machine really stumbles and stutters on it. There were a flurry of articles about how the new Retina 12-inch MacBook is as slow as a 2011 MacBook Air, according to a Geekbench that was done. But there's something fishy about that. First of all, the articles came out on April 1st. Now, no one pulled those articles down, so I figured it was safe to quote them on April 2nd, but they're all pointing to a dead link on the primatelabs.geekbench.com website. I was able to find some results that seem to support the claims now, but I stand suspicious of why that link went away. I'm wondering, though, whether maybe the Primate Labs people just don't keep the Geekbench results up for that long, because a lot of people post results. So I'm not sure. I just still have a little pause about why Apple would come out with something that was as slow as a 2011 MacBook Air. Now, remember, Steve says Steve already has a 2011 MacBook Air, so it wouldn't make sense to get that for him. But in any case, we wanted to play with the new MacBook, and clearly Brian wanted to also. He said, I haven't gotten a chance to. Let's go over and look at it. We tested out the new Force Touch trackpad first. If you haven't heard about this, it's a trackpad that has no mechanical click, but through unicorn tears and magic fairy dust, they've created the illusion that it does have a mechanical click. If you press on the trackpad, it clicks. Press harder and it clicks again and brings up things like contextual menus. Brian shut the Mac down completely and waited a few seconds, and sure enough, when we pressed it, there was no click at all. Now, the trackpad did move slightly down when we pressed on it, but no click like when it was powered up. I'm not sure how useful this click and double click or secondary click is, because I don't know, I'm a tapper, not a clicker anyway, but one fewer mechanical thing to break is usually a good thing. Except, of course, now it's an electrical thing that will fail when you spill liquid into your laptop. Not that any of us have ever done that. I was a bit worried about the new keyboard. During the announcement day, maybe it's because it was by that time it was almost midnight in India, it seemed like they droned on for about 3.5 hours about this new trackpad they were so excited about and how the distance to the key throw was less. But since I really like the current keyboards, I was dubious whether this was going to be good for me. When I played with it, though, I found out it felt pretty good. Might take some getting used to, but it was really just fine. Not magical, but just fine. Here's an odd thing. The color of the space gray MacBook caused the keyboard itself, which was black, to look kind of an odd rust color. It kind of had this cast to it that looked a little bit strange. And the same thing happened on the gold one. So the gold MacBook, when it was open, made the keys kind of look off color. Now, it could have been the lighting in the store. Possibly they've tuned the hue of the lights to be perfect for the watches instead, because they look great. When we closed the lids, though, I really did like both the space gray and the gold MacBooks. I didn't think the gold looked garish at all. It's not my style, but I would not sneer if a friend of mine chose it. Come on, Dorothy, you know you want gold, don't you? Anyway, then came the fun part. I asked Brian, hey, you got any of the 13-inch MacBooks in store with the 2.2 gigahertz i7, 500 gig SSD, and 8 gigs of RAM? I knew they didn't have it in stock because it's listed as built to order on the website, but he said, yeah, we do. So I said, yeah, just throw one of those in a bag for Steve, will you? Well, his birthday is coming for him too, right? All right. See why I didn't have time to talk about the, and I didn't even have to wait for Kevin to tell me I had to get it for him. Why do you like that trackpad, Steve Davidson? Let's see. Merca, what is this? What do you guys? Oh, a hat, 10 gallon, 37.85 liter. are you people talking about? Closes Vert. Oh, Alistair, you like Vert, huh? It's nice, isn't it? Isn't it a beautiful interface? Have I saved lately? No, I don't think I have. Thank you. Kevin's usually in charge of that, but at least Steve Davidson remembers. All right. All right, here we go. Multiple levels of click. Pressure. Yeah, maybe it's something you can get used to as being an intuitive gesture. I don't know, though. All right, here we go. Let's kick back in. I've been a fan of Screencasts Online for ages and ages, and not just because Don McAllister is now a personal friend of mine. I'm a fan because how much I learned from him. I've talked to you before about how amazing he is, and I've tried to explain in words how he seems to see things in applications that I would never find. My previous favorite illustration before now was how he showed all these menus on the right side of Aperture that I never even noticed in years of using the software. I just found another example. Let me set the stage first. When I go on vacation, I write an email diary of the trips that I send to about 83 of my closest friends. I write funny little anecdotes and I insert photos along the way. Every trip, by the way, I give everyone on distribution the chance to opt out, but in the years of doing this, only one person has ever exercised that option, and they had a really good reason other than they hate my emails. I do get complaints when OS X removes people randomly from my vacation email groups, so I'm pretty sure people actually find them entertaining. Wally Chewinski, who was on the India trip with us, has been a happy reader of my silly little emails for years. He said he even liked getting them while he was on this trip when he was with me because he knew he wouldn't have to take any notes to remember where we'd been or what we'd done because he could just refer to my emails. But then he gave me a scarier idea. He said, you should make this particular trip into an iBook. Well, that sounded like fun, so I launched iBooks Author and I got stuck pretty much immediately. No worries, I remembered watching Don's screencast on how to use iBooks Author a few years ago, so I knew that with my subscription, I could go back into the archives and rewatch them to refresh my memory. And that's when I caught Don doing what he does so very well. I'm going to describe it in words, but I do have a screen recording where he shows us something inside iBooks Author that is just amazing. Basically, he's looking at this one screen and he says, oh yeah, and there's this hidden menu, and he just clicks in this area that you would never in a million years think to click, and he drags down, and this whole fleet of things that you need are revealed. So anyway, I want you guys to go watch the video. It's embedded in the show notes. If you look at look for a blog post called "Why Don McAllister is the Master," and you'll see what I mean. Now, I do have to say, I have a vested interest in him doing well because I work for him now doing screencasts, but I really watch screencasts online to learn from him because Don McAllister is the master. Oh, you've had Vert for ages. Should have done a review. All right. Oh, good. You showed him the India trailer. You got used to the trackpad tap gesture for dragging objects. That was new once. Yeah, definitely. I like it, though, because I don't click. I wonder if I could get over the click if I knew it was electronic, because two things bother me about clicking. One is the idea of carpal tunnel, of actually pushing any motion like that. It scares me. Even though I've never had problems with it, I just don't want those problems. The second thing is it bothers me because I think that thing's going to break after a while. Like, I'm afraid to use my home button too much. I always use gestures to move on my iPhone. I wonder. Don is the man. Absolutely, Kiwi Spoon. It's pretty funny how he does this. All right, here we go. You can't stand the click either. But I know all these people who can't, like this guy Brian that was working with us at the Apple Store. He goes, "Oh, I can't stand not using the click. How can you stand to not use it?" So it's good that there's something for both of us, right? You know what drives me crazy? When I go to do something complicated that I've done before, and I open up Evernote to my Clarify tutorial section, and I find that I did not document it the last time I figured it out. A year and a half ago, Linda Goucher asked me to speak remotely to the Silicon Valley Mac Users Group. I love doing user group presentations because it makes me feel like a rock star in a very small pond. So I gladly agreed. Sounded like fun to figure out how to do that kind of presentation remotely. So way back then, she said they used AOL Instant Messenger within Messages app on OS X to do screen sharing. I told her she was nuts and we should just use Skype. We experimented and found reasons that Skype didn't really do the trick back then. Then we tried what did they used to call it? iChat Theater? That didn't do what we wanted either. Finally, I acquiesced and agreed to try her crazy AIM messages idea, but I promised her I wouldn't like it. A lot of whining. Sure enough, it worked just fine. So fast forward to this week when Linda and I are planning to do it again, and for the life of me, I could not remember how we did it last time. I was furious with myself for not taking some basic screenshots with Clarify, throwing in like an arrow or two, maybe a box, put some words of text in there to give me a hint as to how we did it. Took us 3 times as long to recreate what we did last time because if I'd just taken those few moments to document the steps, it wouldn't have taken so long. The good news is that I did document them this time, so if it ever comes up again, I'll know how to do it. Ironically, after all the time it took us to figure this out, we got Skype to do an even better job. When we tried Skype last time, you couldn't do more than 2 video streams at once for free on the Mac, and since we were both too cheap to pay for it, we had to give up. Now, with it being free to do multiple streams, we were able to have 3 video streams, one of me, one of her and her audience, and a third being my screen. With all 3 running, I can do my demo, but also make faces at the audience, gauge if they're paying attention or if I've lost them, and flip back and forth easily to keep us all enjoying the experience. Well, my main lesson here is that if you have Clarify, don't forget to use the darn thing to take notes for yourself so you don't go through all that extra work like I did. Document everything you find even the teeniest bit difficult, and you'll be really glad later when you think, hey, didn't I figure this out once before? Anyway, check out Clarify over at clarify-it.com. All right, what did I miss? Clarify. Okay, that's funny about when you want to be sure you click. Yeah, definitely. Do you guys use the 3-finger drag a window thing? I think 3-finger drag. Oh, you guys are asking the same question. Alistair, yeah, I definitely use 3-finger. You do. Oh, whoa. What did double tap do? Double tap just made a window go full screen, Alistair. What? What are you guys talking about, double tap? All right. It's time for some cover up your ears, Kevin. That's Kevin, Stephen, Kevin. Favorites. All right. Jazz, 44th Street Long. I am suddenly exhausted. Why am I so tired? It's a zombie move? What? I don't know what you people are talking about now. You've lost me. All right. 50 minutes. I went pretty long. Oh, double tap is a zombie move. Okay, I got it. Thanks, Steve. All right. So let's see. How does this look? Okay. Tap in here. Okay. Wow, that's moving really quickly. And get rid of that because I see a click. Just save. Let's see how this sounds. Save. Thank you, Eddie Edie. Kiwi spoon. I'll get it yet. Before. Anyway, check out Clarify over at clarify-it.com. Well, it's that time of the week again. It's time for Chit Chat Across the Pond, and I have a very, very different show for you guys today. When I was on the Daily Tech News Show on Wednesday, on April Fool's Day with Tom Merritt, we were discussing accessibility in Windows, and that prompted an email from a company called Ceratech that makes accessibility products, specifically working with Facebook, and they have some interesting issues coming up that we wanted to talk about. So I'd like to welcome to the show Mike Calvo, founder of Ceratech, and Matt Campbell, lead developer. How you doing, guys?
Hey. Hey, doing good.
All right, Mike, why don't you talk first so people get to know your voice? What is Ceratech about? What does Ceratech do?
Well, Cero means connected, and tech, of course, means tech. So connected technology is what we're about. We've been around since 2002.
2002.
Yeah. And this is the guy that he remembers the time of things. I mean, the hour, the minute, the second, which is kind of creepy for me. But
I don't at all.
not me, man. I slept since then. So, but we've been around since 2002, and the entire concept was when we started in 2002, the only accessible communication device was a Motorola phone that you could tell it call home and it would dial. I couldn't even access the telephone book in it. And there was one screen reader, two screen readers actually, that were both over $500, and that was
for
it.
Windows.
Yeah, for Windows. And
Right.
our goal was to bring economical technology to the visually impaired consumer as opposed to people that were going to work or to school.
Okay.
So we wanted to provide a way for blind people to get on the internet and connect with their friends and family and enjoy online content such as internet radio stations and now podcasts and other things of that sort. And we wanted something that would be easy for blind people who aren't skilled in using a computer, because a sighted person can get on the internet and start surfing within an hour, right? But a blind person has historically had to spend days or weeks learning all about how Windows works and how their screen reader works. And as we like to say, the 50 different ways to skin a web page with a screen reader. And we wanted something that would be easier, that would level the playing field for and especially for people who go blind later in life, who might have been.
Hey, I think I'm talking to myself here. Am I still connected to this live chat room? Nobody's answering me. Is anybody got a Windows box nearby? Windows VM? Because I want somebody to try this. If you go to satogo.com, satogo.com on Windows, it's supposed to create a screen reader version of the web. All you have to do is go to a website, satogo.com, and see if it talks to you. A website that's supposed to do something accessible, and I can't test it on the Mac, so I don't know exactly what it's supposed to do. It sounds kind of cool. All right, I'm going to keep recording here and finish this up.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that's going to wind us up for this week. Many thanks to our sponsor for helping to pay the bills, the makers of Clarify over at clarify-it.com. Don't forget to send in your dumb questions, comments, and suggestions by emailing me at allison@podfeet.com. Follow me on Twitter at Podfeet. If you follow me on Twitter, you can get updates on my periscopes and watch me walk my dog. It's amazing, I tell you. Actually, maybe we'll do something interesting next week on NAB and New Media Expo. Never know. Check out our Google Plus community. I'm telling you, we have so much fun in there. A lot of conversation, a lot of good ideas going back and forth. It's great. Podfeet.com/Google Plus. And if you want to join in the fun of the live show, head on over to podfeet.com/live, normally on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time, and join the friendly and enthusiastic NosillaCastaways. Thanks for listening, and stay subscribed. Never buying anything Windows again? I see a better credit card. Are you serious, Steve? Uh-oh. Wow. Sorry, Steve. I will ask those guys. I definitely wrote it down wrong then. SATOG. Wait a minute. Did I spell it? I spelled it wrong. Sorry. SATOGO.com. See if that works. I don't know exactly what's supposed to happen. All right, let's do something like that. Let's see how that sounds. Castaways, thanks for listening and stay subscribed. Sorry about that. My show notes don't have that link in there. That was something they told me about in the middle of the show, and I have it on this really important piece of paper here, was where I wrote it down. But I just spelled it wrong when I typed it in. So let's go back to the beginning. And no Kevin to tell him to take his ears off. Go like this, and we'll go like that. And go by like there. And we'll select all, and we'll deselect that one. We'll slide this one. See how that intro sounds. I stumbled. All right, Steve, what is it talking about would be interesting. I wonder what it's doing. Ah. Okay, you stop. Go there, hit play. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Macintosh bias. Today is Saturday, April 11, 2015, and this is show number 518. Well, I have a ton of great info for you today, but one thing, well, yeah, that it won't work on the Mac, Steve. All right, I think, let's see. Oh, I need to compress some stuff. Well, it won't hurt anything if you download an exe and you're on a Mac, right? I think. At least that's what I think. Talks faster than Stephen Hawking. Oh, you've got it going too, Kiwi Spoon? Do some kind of assistive service in Windows in order to proceed. Huh. Yeah, it would be a good courtesy, Steve. Interesting. Need to, I'm going to have to get a copy of Windows just for fun. I promise I won't like it. We may have to have Rob Dunwood on our phone from the SMR podcast because he has started using, he's got a Mac now for his podcasting rig, and now he bought an iPad Air 2, and he likes it so much he made it his pick. So it's pretty cool. He's been an Android Windows guy forever. He still prefers Windows, he says, but now he's got a MacBook Pro and he's kind of playing with it. You know, it's how you suck him in. The thing he said he liked best about the iPad versus an Android tablet was the fact that there's dedicated iPad apps. And I keep forgetting that on the Android side, when you use a tablet from Android, there's not dedicated apps. They're just kind of 2x things. So. All right, guys. Well, we are just about done. It is 5:54, and I just got word that my lasagna is almost ready. But you like the Windows Phone? Be careful. Yeah, but that's always fun too, right? All right. I think I am going to call it a little bit early here at 5:54. Thanks for coming, you guys, on a Saturday night. And Brett, special thanks for the idea of going in live chat. That was way more fun to have people to talk to directly about what was going on during the midnight rush. That was really fun. So yeah, do that again. Remind me. I would have forgotten that one. So, all right. I am going to call it, and we can stay and keep chatting if you want to, but I'm going to cut the live video off and start doing the production end of things. Good night, guys. See you next week after NAB.